it's all about preparation. It's all about surrounding yourself with the right people that have the experience to be able to help support you in where you're at and bring your ideas to life and help you do that in the most meaningful of ways. It's how do we as individuals speak on what we're designed to speak about versus trying to speak on things that we believe the market wants to hear from us. And that's a very different approach.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Launchpad Sessions. I'm excited to chat with you about who you are and what you do. Um, Amanda Banks, thank you. Let me introduce you to the world. Amanda, you are a founder and strategist specializing in thought leadership, development, and distribution. You work with operators and experts to clarify what they actually think, shape into language that holds authority, and place it where it can move conversations and markets. That's awesome. In this episode, we'll talk about how ideas become legible, how distribution shapes influence, and invisibility, and how you help people stay grounded in the substance that they create. So, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to have this conversation. We're getting to know each other, so I'm excited to do that in front of the world. And I'm just grateful for your time and the opportunity to have this conversation.
Do you want to just kind of dive in and maybe introduce yourself? Tell me what you're excited about in your space right now. What you're most passionate about.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm really focused on thought leadership, development, and distribution. I believe that every single person has amazing things that, if shared with the world in a meaningful way, that they can, help serve other people and help teach and provide wisdom to other people. So that's what I'm really excited about. I'm launching a network, so our humanity network is something that I'm really focused on as well, and really it's still under this same notion of how do you capture amazing ideas from people that know like deep rooted wisdom and experience and knowledge, like what the heck they're talking about. And then how do you bring that to the world in a meaningful way? And most of the people I work with are naturally, introverted or don't care to be forward facing, but they recognize that by doing so, it can help serve other people and teach other people, and then hopefully like bring some awareness to themselves and their businesses and what they're doing. So that's what I'm really excited about and super focused on. Um, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, since you brought that into the space, I'd love to hear more about what that's looking like. You said it's brand new idea, just getting started. Um, how do you see that network complementing the work that you're doing now, or what that looks like moving forward?
Yeah, so truth be told is like not everybody is looking to create or bring their ideas to life to like gain fame or gain followership. And what I've found, especially with the work that I've done with TEDx Old Hickory, which is a TEDx event that I launched several years ago, and we've had 3 events, and it's all been amazing ideas brought to life. But what I've found is that not everybody has this desire to be super forward facing, but they all have amazing knowledge and ideas and experience. And if I can be the catalyst to help continue to bring those things to life in a meaningful way, especially for people that don't see themselves as, social media influencers or don't see themselves as wanting to become, forward facing speakers or famous, then I can bring together really amazing people that can bring ideas to life in a super meaningful way.
Beautiful. Man, I'm really excited about that. It feels like it's very similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I find the people that are doing something really potent and impactful in the world, and I usually find them in a place where there maybe is a slight disconnect in the level that they're serving and how they're impacting and the ripple that they're creating and where they see themselves. So I think I'm trying to do the same thing, like by creating visuals and
Yeah.
kind of lifting up who they see themselves as, focusing on the future version of themselves and kind of creating this visual brand around that to help support them in reaching more of their audience effectively. So it sounds like a very similar space. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, it's really like, when you look at thought leadership, especially people that you see very forward facing in the thought leadership or coaching or speaking or educating space. There's really a couple of different avenues, in my opinion. One is like entertainers, right? So you have people that are amazing entertainers that get up on a stage or get in front of the camera and just like live, eat, and breathe that environment.
Hmm.
And then there's other people like me that I really value like deep rooted wisdom and very intentional, meaningful conversations. And my idea of thought leadership and expertise looks a little bit different than a traditional entertainer, but it's also very similar in a nature of we can all bring our ideas to life in a meaningful way. It's just how do you bring those to life and what's the catalyst in doing so? And you're not going to find me jumping across the stage. You may find me sitting in a chair, talking very intentionally about the work that I'm doing and want to dive a lot deeper into that. But it just looks different. And I found that some of these individuals that don't care to become entertainers, they just don't share their knowledge and wisdom more media oriented, I would say. And those are some of the conversations that we need to hear. That these are from people that, are deeply knowledgeable in what they're doing, right? They've got decades of experience and whether or not it's doing hair or teaching kids or farming or whatever it may be, and using that as an opportunity to really bring truth and education and wisdom to the world in meaningful ways.
Speaking is a part of what you've understood is a big part of what needs to be. Can you tell a little bit about your personal journey with that, like how that became the aha, and what maybe some things that you've done to help break through?
Yeah, so my background's corporate. I come from an enterprise sales and strategic partnerships background. And so part of that role required me to do presentations and some of these other things, but I have always been terrified of public speaking. Like, this is not a skill set that is really natural to me. And so for years, I just, didn't really lean into that. But when I transitioned from corporate into entrepreneurship, I recognized very quickly that it's easier to attract the right people than it is to individually hunt for every single opportunity. And so public speaking became just a way in which I brought my ideas to life. And that skill set, I'm still having to work and develop that skill set. This is not something that just naturally out of the box I was super comfortable with. But there is an area of opportunity, right? And I think public speaking is something that everybody should really try to lean into in some way, shape, or form. It may not be audiences of thousands and thousands of people, but it may be small groups of people. And this is a way to build that public speaking knowledge or that muscle. And so I think public speaking is something that we all should really take a look at and how we can incorporate that into our business. But it doesn't mean that we're all super comfortable. I don't know. Are you super comfortable in public speaking?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm not. And it's funny, it's like I often find myself in those places. So
Yeah.
I love that you said it's something that you should just lean into. There's so much opportunity there to reach people. So it's something that you just need to lean into and get comfortable with. However, it kind of leads me into a question. So, for professionals preparing for some sort of speaking opportunity, or maybe a TED talk, or have that desire to do that, or to reach more of an audience, do you have any tips or tricks to help that process?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about my TEDx experience because
Okay.
I didn't know a lot about like the TED ecosystem, and by no means I am not a representative of TED or TEDx. I can only speak about TEDx Old Hickory and my experience. But I was asked several years ago to do a TEDx talk myself, and I didn't even really know like the magnitude or like what the platform was. And it was a friend, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it."
Mhm.
So I gave a talk, and then the next year I emceed an event, his event, and then the following year, I started asking myself like, "Can I host this in my own local city, which does not seemingly belong in Old Hickory, Tennessee?" Like, we don't have, we have amazing event space from like a smaller thing, but we don't have corporate event space. And so
Mhm.
the reason that I did that was exactly like what you're asking the question for is like, well, how do we prepare or how do we bring the right people to the table to actually bring their ideas to life in a meaningful way? And I wanted to foster that experience with TEDx Old Hickory of like, where's the local hairdresser? Where's the local teacher? And how can we get them prepared to give a TEDx style talk by the time they step foot on the stage. And so we created a 5-month program at no cost to the speakers. And we ran everybody through that program to get them to that event date. And so to
Wow.
me, to answer your question going way back, is it's all about preparation. It's all about surrounding yourself with the right people that have the experience to be able to help support you in where you're at and bring your ideas to life and help you do that in the most meaningful of ways. And oftentimes when we see public speakers, we see these massive personalities or these people that are jumping around on stage. Not every impactful speaker has to have that similar persona. And so it's really getting to the core of who are you as an individual, what are your ideas that could potentially serve other people? And how can we shape that in a meaningful way to where you can deliver it and feel really good about what you're talking about? So that's kind of that gets back to that initial question, right? But it's how do we take amazing people, but just get them prepared and ready to go for that TEDx experience?
Very cool. Do you have anything that stands out to you in terms of experience, someone that you've led through that process that, maybe a case study almost of like
Yeah.
very, very like not looking good to to the other side?
Well, I wouldn't say it's not looking good. I would say that oftentimes what we as individuals and speakers try to speak on are things that we believe that the market wants to hear from us. So this is like a really important notion here, and I'll give you a for example of this. I had a speaker that was an amazing speaker and deeply knowledgeable in market insights and artificial intelligence. When we started having the conversations around the talk, I was like, we are artificial intelligence out. Like a lot of people are talking about it. So what can we like continue to unpack that may be something really new, really interesting? And what he ended up talking about was actually grief in leadership and how do you as a leader manage employees that are grieving a lost loved one or vice versa, right? And so it's not really like the use case of like taking somebody that was challenging and helping them become amazing speakers. It's how do we as individuals speak on what we're designed to speak about versus trying to speak on things that we believe that the market wants to hear from us. And that's a very different approach.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I can see how that's really, really helpful. And it helps, I think, get the person out of their head more and into their body, into their heart, and what they're really meant to be speaking about. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
like
we we
taking
all try
notes.
to fit a mold. Like we all, our whole lives have been designed around labels. And when we take in those labels, then oftentimes we have an idea of how we should show up and serve. And one of the things that I think is just really powerful is when you strip a lot of that away and you get to the raw human form of like, what are your experiences? What have you listened to? Like, what are you wanting to teach and you craft that in a really meaningful way, it becomes a very powerful differentiator as well.
Love that. Another spot in the community and leadership space. I read that you'd been nominated for Nashville's Business Journal 40 Under 40.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. What do these sorts of recognitions and highlights mean to you personally, and have they opened future doors for you?
Yeah, so anytime there's like any type of award or nomination, right? Like it's always great to feel like something that you've done has been impactful. So I was just nominated into that. Um, and it's always a reflection on like the work that you're doing is being seen or meaningful. As far as awards, I'm not a big person on awards, so I'm not huge on like that type of recognition, but I do think it's just nice to feel like the work that you're doing is being seen by those that are willing to even put in a nomination for you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also, I mean, for me, it goes into like the credibility cup, like it helps people not just see what you do and how you do it, but that you've made an impact enough to, raise awareness for others to speak about you too. So I don't know. I think it's really special.
I have
Um,
one of my favorite ones. So this one over here, it's up on my shelf here. It's from an individual by the name of Herbert Flight Time Lang. So he was a Harlem Globetrotter. This is the Kindness is Free Award. And it basically showcases like what you've done has been really kind. And that to me is like a really impactful way. He's such an incredible human being. I don't know if you know her, but if not, like go see and check out the work that he does. But his whole motto is kindness is free. And so that's really meaningful to me is being recognized as somebody that is kind and compassionate for the work that we're doing. And so he gave me that award as part of TEDx Old Hickory. He was one of our MCs and he pulled me up on stage and it was really, really special.
That's awesome. I feel like there's a lot of aligned values here because even the title of that book and you getting that award, that's really important in the work that I do. And like one of the things that I say in client relationships is this person doing something that's like positive in the world? Like are they really contributing to raising the morale of the general, the human body somehow? So that's really, really important. And I
Yeah,
think that's
I
amazing.
mean, we live in a world where likes and follows can be fabricated. Like this is my creator space, right? Like likes and follows can be fabricated. Individuals can go inorganic methods to try to drive visibility and awareness. And for whatever reason, we as human beings oftentimes deem likes and follows as credibility. But in all actuality, we all have individual influence in our own, small communities or our own communities, and that's really what is to me important in the world is how can you you know create a better life for your family, how can you positively impact the people around you, how can you use your influence or your platforms to positively impact the world in a meaningful way. And n- likes and follows to me are just like right, because that oftentimes doesn't give you the alignment of what is truth and what is actuality, especially with the technology that we all have access to nowadays.
So such a good point. It is. We could talk about that all day. And I mean, I loved hearing that that's not a super driving important thing, because at the end of the day, if you're not actually making those connections and actually with real human beings with with beating hearts, it's like what they're you're not really doing anything. So I
And if
appreciate
you're a
you.
piece of crap behind the scenes, like there once again, media, you can fabricate a ton of different things. And like I want to be a person that is seen as what you see is what you get. And what you see on a camera is no different than how I behave in real human form, right? And so there's a lot of that happens as well, where you've got personality on media and then you've got behind the scenes how this person actually behaves. And to me, it's how can you create alignment so that how you show up is as authentically driven as possible. And I just don't like misalignment there. So what you see is kind of what you get. And, I have good days, I have bad days, as we all do as humans. But to me, that piece is super, super, super important is how do you show up with kindness and compassion and just in service towards others, both on screen, but also behind the scenes as well.
I so agree. I think I read maybe in your bio somewhere, you said something about every conversation is an opportunity to make a positive impact. And I feel like we're kind of parallel to that now, so I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Um, how do you feel like that philosophy plays into building future professional relationships for you?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a way of life. Like just with you, like we got on the call and I asked you this question, like, what is your audience like? What is your audience needing? That is like in service to others, right? So every single conversation is honestly an impact. Like it has the ability to change the life of a single person. Like you and I don't know who's tuning in that this could actually be of service towards. And I take that pretty seriously, right? Like my daughter's watching, my husband's watching, like all these people in our communities have access to these types of media forms now. And so it truly is how do you have a conversation that's meaningful and can positively impact the life of another person? And that's how I look at the TEDx talks as well. Like if we as TEDx speakers, TEDx Old Hickory speakers, this is how I coach, if we show up and stand on that red circle carpet and we deliver something that is really, really, really meaningful and somebody hears and says, this is like really opened my eyes or changed my perspective, we've done our job. It's
Mm.
all about the person in front of you and how can you show up in service towards them to positively make an impact.
Love it. So good. Do you have something in mind, maybe a positive experience or most rewarding experience in connecting people through your events or partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of those moments behind the scenes. This is if you haven't been in a green room before with other people that are getting ready to go on set, oftentimes like the magic happens in the green room. The conversations that are like super powerful or very raw and vulnerable happen in the green room. And so in TEDx Old Hickory specifically, the people in the audience basically are part of the green room. They're part of like the backstage area, or they're part of an experience in which the viewership on the other end of the lens don't have access to. And so it's those little moments of a tear coming down and like, this really spoke to somebody, or, a conversation between two people that seemingly don't fit together, but like see each other's new perspectives and can find alignment there. So it's those specific moments, the backstage moments, the green room moments, those behind the scenes moments that I hold near and dear to knowing that these are the things that shape us.
I'm really enjoying this conversation. I feel like I said before, it feels like there's a lot of aligned value points here. So it feels good. There's always, I look at profiles and click around a little bit, but you never really like until you get on a call or have an opportunity to see someone and how they truly show up. It's always a little bit of a question mark, and I think a lot because of what you were just saying, like you can paint whatever persona you want online, and who knows what's really true or not until you actually, have some experience. So I'm feeling good about your yes to doing
Well, I
this.
think I think that like this is a really that's a really important point that like we need to probably lean into, right? Is if you like there's a lot of people that hire resources to go in and help them build out their profiles or help them build out their speeches or use artificial intelligence to help them type out their creative works, but I see all of this as a creative form of authenticity and expression.
Yeah.
So it's a constant living, breathing ecosystem. Media is that, right? Where I go in and I change the stuff that I'm doing. And you can't truly get to the essence of who you are as a human being unless you explore that. And then being able to bring that out to the world. Like you want alignment there so that the people that reach out to you are aligned and not just reaching out for who knows what. And so if you can show up as a leader and really truly understand who you are, what are you passionate about, what are the types of people that you're looking to show up and serve, and your entire media ecosystem, whatever that may look like, big or small, represents that, then conversations like this can happen. And you can find people a lot easier that are in alignment just by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Let me go back to your brand. I asked a question on the forum. What's your brand in 3 words? I think it was. And you said intentional, grounded, and expansive. Um, how do you feel like those qualities show up in your work and what you do and how you interact with your clients?
Yeah, I'm super intentional, right? I want the right people around me. I want to be involved with the right opportunities. I want the right clients. I think intentionality is a requirement from a leadership perspective on just who I am. I'm naturally a very intentional individual, and time is very precious to me, and I know it's very precious to a lot of other people. So I try to incorporate that into alignment with the people in my sphere and ecosystem. And then expansive, like I'm a big thinker. I think about things from a perspective of what can we accomplish? I don't see barriers. I see areas of opportunity. And so everything that I do has an opportunity for growth or expansion, whether that's for an individual human or a business or a project like what I'm working on with our humanity network. And so everything just kind of like goes into those buckets just because that's who I am and how I show up naturally. It's easier to figure out your own brand and how you show up and serve and then match everything else that you do around that versus trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. You're
Yes.
constantly trying to fight that. And quite frankly, it's difficult work to do.
Hmm.
But I feel like once you get to that point, the entire ecosystem becomes harmony. It becomes your business, it becomes the way you show up, your family, all of that stuff.
Yes. This is so good. I mean, this is a conversation I have so often. One person's coming to mind to me. It's someone else. A lot of my clients are in the corporate space, and they may be in either a transitionary phase where they're um, trying to come out of corporate, or like accompany that with something that they're personally passionate about, but creating a personal brand around that. And I keep having to remind several clients that, the corporate world has created this box around who you are and how you be. And I think the more you can just crack that open and lean into like who you are and what you're passionate about and the impact that you're trying to make, and be really clear on all those points, the more effective it's going to be as a business. So once again, I just feel like it's super aligned.
Well, and it's evolving. I've been on this personal branding journey for a long time.
Mm.
And it seems like every few months I'll lean into it and I'll start getting a little bit deeper or a little bit deeper or a little bit deeper. And it's an evolving thing. It's not just this static experience that this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. When you're open to new ideas and explore new conversations and meet new people, then that expands and gives you perspective on who you are as a human being. I think that's part of why we were here, is to understand who we are and how we bring that to life in a meaningful way.
I want to ask about your current business, Create and Innovate Solutions, right?
Yeah.
For people that are unfamiliar with what that is, what would you say? What problems does that solve, and how do you help people build an authentic influence?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what we're talking about here. It's how do you capture your own essence and how do you showcase that essence in the different areas in which you're showcasing? Sometimes that takes the life of speakers, sometimes that takes the life of corporate leaders, sometimes that takes the life of businesses that want to have better communication skills, but it's all under this essence of thought leadership development and distribution. So I've worked with some of the greats and have studied under some of the greats, and it's how do you once again, how do you capture your essence and how do you bring that to life? And so our humanity network will be a network where there's a lot of different types of people and moving parts and pieces and different ideas, that those ideas get showcased under a consolidated roof, and thought leadership gets distributed in a meaningful way.
Are there any other like specific services that have been like most transformative for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go under the TEDx Old Hickory landscape because the 5-month program that we put people through for thought leadership development, idea development, and then actually getting that out to the world from a speaking perspective has been really transformative for a lot of people. And it's not just I want to come and I want to speak and I want to bring that idea to life. It's transformative from a human being perspective. It's who am I, and how am I going to capture this beautiful essence and then bring that to life in the most authentic way possible. So I think that that's probably been the most transformative work. Yes, I can, update LinkedIn profiles and do media stuff and do interviews and host events and all of this. But I think that that thought leadership development piece is really, really powerful.
Yeah, I'm also intrigued. I'm curious
Yeah.
what that program would be like, and how I
Yeah.
would feel coming out of the other side.
My
Sounds
hope
really
is that
powerful.
people feel more confident and
Mm.
comfortable in speaking their truth, like speaking the ideas that resonate the most to them in the way in which they communicate. Like we're often try to your point, the box method, right? Like to be a professional speaker or to be a TEDx speaker or to be, a thought leader, you have to do these specific things. And yes, there's, processes and ways to bring these things, technologies, but everybody is unique and how they communicate is unique. And if you don't become a better, more effective communicator yourself, then you're trying to mimic something that is putting you in a box. I don't know. I don't see that. I don't live
Mm.
that way.
I'm kind of bouncing around.
Yeah, good.
I'm curious. So, our humanity network, is there anything more that you want to share about that, that you're putting together?
Yeah, so it's super new. I just updated like my LinkedIn profile to have it. We don't even have the
Cool.
website out yet. So
Cool.
it's super new. It's conceptual. I will say that if there are people that are listening to this that um want to share their ideas and don't see themselves as being like these over the top personalities that want to build influencer like followings, meaning like I want to be a social media influencer, but want to communicate, whether it's being a guest or whether it's hosting a show, like reach out to me. Like I said, this is super new, and what I've learned is I am on the organic side. I don't like to build networks or communities that are based on inorganic methods. So all of this is being built from a grassroots perspective, and that's very intentional. That's very intentional from a perspective of I want the right people involved. So if you're listening in on this and what we're saying resonates with you, then really just reach out. I'm happy to explore what your ideas are and how we could potentially collaborate and partner. But that's it for now. There's definitely going to be a lot more clarity brought to the table and a lot more structure and all of those fun things in the coming months. So to be continued.
Are there any other projects or trends that you're in the thought leadership and media space that you're noticing or excited about? Anything that's capturing your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming at this from an organic perspective. So there are inorganic, like certain things in that world. I'm not an expert in that world. But what I will say is what's really interesting and what I am seeing is people are really interested in like raw authenticity. And Merriam-Webster, number one word a couple years ago, but it's still something that I'm seeing regularly is like,
Mhm.
how can we produce authentic, raw content that can actually serve other people. So I'm seeing that. I'm seeing people getting frustrated with algorithms. So people that are stopping the playing towards the algorithms and just producing things that they're really excited about, which is like the creative side of media and content, which I think that that is really important right now. So authenticity and bringing things to life in just a beautiful creative way, I think is really exciting right now.
I agree. I'm on board with that 100%, being on the creative side of all of that. How do you balance being intentional and grounded while keeping your vision expansive?
I think that that's like a unique skill set, right? Like I have the ability to see vision. So like I say in the clouds, I talk about in the clouds, but I also have the ability to jump back on the ground. And so that ability to bounce between clouds and ground and clouds and ground, depending upon what role I'm in creative projects, oftentimes you take on a different role based on what you're doing or what team you're working with. And so that's just a skill set naturally that I have is the ability to see big picture, but to also be able to break it down and to be more grounded in how do we actually tactically execute this thing. And so that's where I play really well with like the dreamers and then also the operators and how do you bounce between those networks. So
Mhm.
putting big ideas to structure and rigidity to actually like move the thing forward in life.
So good. That's important, important to think about and to know how to execute. I think I just have one final question.
Yeah.
If you had any advice for listeners on listeners who want to share their own knowledge or lived experience, but aren't sure where to start, what would you tell them?
Find people that know what they're doing. I could have saved myself a lot of time, energy, and effort by finding the right people to kind of help navigate that for me. We've been in a world where I think, from a creation perspective, we lose sight of like, we are the creators. So bring things to life in which you see your own vision towards. As long as it's, politically nice and all of these non-biased, like all of these different things. But like as creators, like we have a unique vision and there's a purpose behind us having a unique vision. So find other people that can help you harness that unique vision and structure it appropriately so you can bring it to life and people can relate to it. So that's what I would say is just find the right people and surround yourself with those people and save yourself a lot of time.
I wholeheartedly agree. Awesome, Amanda. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel like you'd like to share? Anything on your heart or mind that you'd want to get out there in the world?
No, I mean, if there's anybody that this resonates with, like, I'm pretty easy to get in contact with. Reach me out on LinkedIn or reach me through email, and I'm happy to start a conversation and just go out and create. Like, that's the thing that I'll leave people with is like we are designed to create, and that takes form in a lot of different types of avenues. So whatever it is you're looking to create, whether it's art or media or whatever, go out and create it.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Love it. Love it. Mic drop. I was gonna ask how people can get in touch with you, but yeah, I think you just dropped it there. I'll leave the specifics in the section so people know how to get in touch with you. Thank you so much, Amanda. It's really great
Yeah,
having a chat with you and getting to know you.
thank you for having me on, and I'm so grateful for this time that we shared, and it sounds like we're super aligned, so looking forward to continued conversations.
Yeah, for sure.